On State of Affairs this morning, we are turning our attention on the young people in the country. They make up a bulk of the population in the recently released Kenya National Housing Bureau of Statistics. And despite that, there are cases of under-acknowledgement and appreciation and, of course, the concern on the growing unemployment rate in the country. So this morning, we'll be hearing from them in effect to that and what's the way forward for them in terms of their input. Are they considered? Are they on the dining table? Or they are part of the policy-making machine in the country? And this comes at the height of the continuing BBI rallies across the country, which seems, according to them, distant far from the realization in terms of considering the needs of young people in the country. We have a live audience in studio and equally a young panel on set, and will be, of course, intertwining and enmeshing their thoughts on what way forward for the young people in the country. On my immediate right, I'll just give them the one minute to introduce themselves. Later, I'll go to the panel, I'll seek their sentiments, and we'll be getting their thoughts in regards to the issues that are of concern to them. Are they being addressed? Is there the willingness? And is the policy-making process in the country one that is of concern to them when it comes to young people, and what needs to be put straight when it comes to the young generation of the country? Yes, I'll start with you.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Nicole. I am a big advocate for health and wellness and just general mental health.
Okay. Yes, Alex.
All right. My name is Alois Lavano Teno, student president, Daystar University, and CEO of Vijana Kenyan Africa.
Okay, yes.
My name is Leanne Perez. I'm an entrepreneur, and I focus on communications and strategy.
Yes, the gentleman on the last end.
Yeah. My name is Paul Olaka. I am a young patriotic Kenyan and active member of the society. Okay,
what's more important and concerning is that, which is worth noting, is that many young Kenyans are so patriotic. When you see the name Vijana Inua Kenya, Vijana Tujenge Taifa, and then the cause is always wrapped up in peace and call for unity and prosperity. Equally, we'll be seeking the sentiment of our able panel, our able audience, live audience in studio. Now, starting off with you, Nicole, talking about young people, there is a concern on one end, and equally there is the star that shines on the other. The hope on the horizon, however, is that there are things that need to be straightened and ironed out. And it seems that the policy-making process, or the policymakers, have lower appetite in terms of giving the adequate attention to what the young people need in the country. Can we coalesce around a cause to agree on what ails the young people and set the country straight when it comes to them, because they make up a lion's share of the Kenyan population?
Well, I think the biggest problem is, like you're saying, is the government doesn't really take into account what the youth have to say and what they feel. And obviously with unemployment being a huge issue in the country and people not necessarily being able to find jobs, and whilst there are jobs available, but the fact that people are not able to get these jobs unless they give certain favors, whether this be monetary, sexual in some cases. And so I think the youth simply do not see a way out of the situation at hand. So giving the youth a platform on which to stand and giving them the opportunity to have their voice be heard, I think, is something that really needs to happen.
Okay, Alois, do you agree with that? Because you are a student leader at Daystar University, and part of the process is that the universities in the country are pretty much at the focal point of the young people in the country. They continue to churn out young people, yet the job market continues to shrink, continues to constrict, and they end up being unemployed or are jobless for that matter. The thinking in mind then psychologically is that the idle brain will be susceptible, will be vulnerable to all the ills, and this includes even going the extent of even subscribing to terror ideologies, including Al-Shabaab, which now taps into the energy of young people. They have a lawyer, they have a technician. One of the orchestrators of the 2015 Garissa University attack was a lawyer who graduated from the University of Nairobi. I mean, is the government not seeing all these problems, this ticking time bomb that they are sitting on?
First of all, like I always say, I'd like to first blame the education sector when it comes to these issues. If you look at in the developed countries and developed nations, you see that universities are actually at the focal point of shaping what kind of jobs are actually created out there. So not just equipping us with the necessary skills, but also shaping what kind of jobs that the job market is actually opening up for us as young people. So I think this is something that we've been lagging behind, but I can see great strides. The Ministry of Education launching the CBC, which is tailored towards your competency and what you're really good at. Another thing is I would wish that at the university level, this is also reciprocated by having vocational training, so that despite, aside from you just getting your skills, for example, in communication like myself, that you also learn some vocational training, and if I don't get employed, then I'm able to start a business and not just employ myself, but other people also.
And that comes to the extent of now, again, entrepreneurship. Leanne, of course, you have an understanding in terms of the scope of now venturing into that field. And yesterday I was listening to one of the key policymakers in the country. He said that we continue to channel out young people from the universities. We have no job markets, we have no jobs for them. And that is very clear, blatant, I mean, unbridled sort of admission that we have nothing for you as young people. When you talk about entrepreneurship, you have an experience in that particular regard and that, of course, range of understanding. One of the issues that President Barack Obama pointed out in 2015 when he came to the country in the maiden visit was the young people to venture into that. And he said, despite Kenya not being an America sort like, where it's a great land of opportunity, then when young people venture into that, then they can at least make a difference in terms of what we have at the moment, the present job market in the country. Is that the way to go? Is it the easy, immediate fix to the problem in the country?
You can have a simple answer to that question, because on one hand, entrepreneurship is a solution. But on the other hand, you have the government coming in with all these regulations that are killing businesses the moment they start. So recently they introduced what they're calling there's a 3% levy that they're now giving. Kitambo, you could have your business running for a period of time without you having to pay tax. But right now, from the onset, you're being forced to pay tax.
Before you acquire the license.
Yes.
Yep.
Right now, you have to start paying tax from the first day that you register your business. Number one. Number two, there's a big issue of capital. There's no money. Nobody has money. So after your parents have taken you through school, are you then going to go back and say, okay, please give me an extra 10,000 or 20,000 for me to be able to start a business? So it becomes very cyclical, and we go back to the whole point of there's no money in the economy, nobody can be able to start a business, and then the people that are already running businesses, the government is crippling these businesses so they cannot grow and expand and mentor more people into starting similar businesses that can then, be started in different places. So it's very cyclical. It could be a solution, but then at the same time, it's not a solution.
And what stands out in that? The contrasting element is the capital part, isn't it?
I think it's capital, one, and something Aloy said is very important. There's also the lack of skill set. So you're going through an education system that doesn't equip you. In fact, you get out of school and you're shocked. You're shocked because school prepares you for a job that is not there. So you've not been taught to think outside the box, but then over and above that, there is no capital. So it's just a whole systemic problem.
A whole systemic problem. We'll point to the economic aspect of it.
Yes.
And why equally, not only besides the capital element, why businesses are equally fleeing the Kenyan market to safe destinations in the style of Ethiopia, Rwanda, despite the Kenyan GDP being much bigger in terms of the region. Yeah. And we remain the blue-eyed boy, but we have underneath problems. Is the CBC, the competency-based curriculum, perhaps the way out of the current problems? We seem to have as Leanne did mention, even entrepreneurship, venturing process is a bit too complex. You have a lot of issues to factor in. Can the CBC be the remedy point to the problem?
I don't think so. Because I think what is ailing Kenya is its lack of values and morals. Because even if I have skills, and yet I need connection to do something, it won't help me.
You're talking about the godfathership.
Yeah, everybody has a godfather. You need to know somebody to give you a tender who will connect you to another one who will, even before you're paid, that's a long process. So I think we just need to fix our values and make sure we create laws that will guide each and everything that we do. But no matter what we do, CBC, any initiative, without values, it's useless.
The values then we're speaking about is the Kenyan value.
Kenyan values.
I mean,
Kenyans don't have values, from young people to our leaders to the business people. In fact, there's the many big businessmen who are very corrupt, but all we do is glorify them. Yeah. We glorify them because they have big cars, and that is what we want. They can go to a hotel, they can go to vacations. In fact, they are sponsors. They're spoiling this young people. So it's more values than anything they can say. There's CBC. Though CBC is much better than, because it will give you some skills.
844. Yeah.
It's much better. Yeah, because for me, I'm not using geography to do anything. But if they would have taught me something else that I can do with my own hands, then it's something. At least I can fight. I can use it to fight the little corruption, because I'll do it with my hands. I'll not need connection, because it's a skill. A skill, you don't need connection that much. At least you can push yourself. But this kind of education that you have to be employed. You have to be employed. You can't employ yourself.
Meaning you're at the mercy of another person.
You have to. Yeah. And the number of graduation, every year there are a lot of guys graduate, every year. Masters, degrees, certificates, there are a lot of people who are graduating.
Nicole, if I may come to you, we have the economic aspect that Leandi talked about. You talked about the element of equally the finance element. And to just pick the point from which the gentleman did address is on the aspect of culture here, the value system in the country. And one of the issues that the BBI seeks to highlight is ethos. There's no relationship between the Kenyan parent and the state in terms of the upbringing of the child. For instance, in the Muslim context, the child is brought about in the value system of honesty, in the value system of living in decent life, and in the Christianity, the 10 Commandments do apply. Therefore, there's no relationship between the parent at home and the government. So where does it come in this case so that we can culture a generation that is not materialistic? Because if we put 100,000 here today, everyone will be rushing out to pick that money. No one will be genuine enough to say, who does it belong to? That is the point with which the gentleman is coming from. So how do we inculcate that culture, the generational culture, to turn around the current legacy, the present Kenyan legacy, that is tarnished by allegations of corruption, incompetence, patronage, and tribalism?
That's a tough question to respond to. I don't think there is just a simple answer. I think it comes with people need to want to be better as individuals. I mean, because at the end of the day, yes, your parents can teach you to be a good person. Your parents can teach you good values. But at the end of the day, if you don't believe in these things, if you yourself don't want to be a better person, then do these values really apply? So yes, in a situation, you may know what right and wrong is, but if you are led to do the wrong thing because of circumstance, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people are being pushed to be corrupt, not because they want to, but because the system has forced it to be as such. So the thing is, if people don't try to be better for themselves, then, you know, we can teach each other values and morals and lessons, but that's not going to get anywhere because circumstances push us to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. And because Kenya has become so corrupt in every single area, when people want to just do things the right way or just want to do things because they've been taught this is the correct way to do things, but they're not able to do so because of the situations in place, then where do we end?
Alois, then the point Nicole tries to bring out, we'll get to our audience in a moment, is the aspect of the system now being the circumstance element, or is causing or is prompting the young people to take the wrong path in this particular case. You will see a graduate in engineering who will dig a tunnel to get to the safe in the bank to get the money. What happened in Thika? They were graduates. I mean, you'll get one who will hack the KRA system in the country to get money. You'll get young graduates and an electrician and will ensure he gets electricity connectivity without paying the bill. What does it say about the talent that is out there to be tapped into? And how do we turn around that, not in the negative end, but make sure that we put that into use to grow our economy? That is what drives America. That's what drives Germany. People are talking about ending coal energy, turning into the talent that's available in humans, despite the artificial intelligence threat to humans at the moment.
First, I think we need to take a whole different approach when it comes to this. We already have a rotten society as it is. The best way to handle such a situation is by training our young boys and girls, starting us as young people right now, the millennials of this generation.
The dot-com generation.
Exactly. We're the ones to take our young brothers and sisters, our children. We're the ones to teach them these values. We shouldn't look at it as a now thing because it's almost impossible to change where we are as at now. But we can look at the future of the country, and this can be enhanced by training our young boys and girls. I mean, Kenya and Africa has never been short of talent. This is very evident. If you look at the likes of Kipchoge, if you look at there was a gentleman, Olele, who created a hand glove that can actually interpret sign language. And we've actually heard that everyone talking about the future is Africa. So I think what we need to look at right now as young people, we need to focus on training the next generation that is coming after us to become better so that we can live a more prosperous nation, as opposed to trying to sort ourselves now, putting so much effort and little result.
Okay, Leanne, to just, I'll be later coming to matters that regard corruption. And the recent report by Transparency International, it's very worrying in terms of the Kenyan culture. 70% of us, including all of us, do pay bribes. If we sample here, then it's about 20 of us pay bribes to get government services. And they cited out the cases of Nyayo House, where people get, of course, passports at the birth certificate, death certificate centers in the country, getting government services. You have to pay in order to get that service. But that will be coming to that shortly. in the aspect of finance, there is the all-important question about President Uhuru Kenyatta at one point did pose. Why is it that people don't have money? Why do you think the young people don't have money? Where is the money?
The money is at the top part of society. The top echelons, they all have money. Everybody at the bottom doesn't have money. So just to explain it and break it down, a government releases, say, 100 million to build a road in a certain county. And then the governor of that county decides, oh, my wife needs a new car, gives her the 100 million. What happens is the people that would have built the road don't get paid. If they don't get paid, they don't buy services. If they don't buy services, then it trickles down all the way to the Mkokoteni guy, because it's a whole pyramid, right? So if the money doesn't come from the top, like when it's released into a county and people don't get paid, it goes all the way to the bottom. So that's why people don't have money. And the only reason someone would think that people have money is because, one, they are out of touch, completely out of touch with the situation. Two, it's a sign of, you know, when you have cancer and there's just like a tumor somewhere growing, it's a sign of a cancer where our leadership has no idea how the economy works. Because if they knew how the economy works, then he would not be coming, you know, to the public to ask, why do you not have money? He would know that if we are losing 300 billion every year that's disappearing from Treasury, then that money is what should have come into the economy to help even Mama Mboga pay her fees and, you know, grow her business or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, coming to you, because your vehicle raised a very important point. The Auditor General pointed out we have lost 5 trillion Kenya shillings in the last financial years.
Yes.
5 trillion.
Yes.
You can run our economy 2 financial years without tax.
Without
Free, everything is free.
Yes.
You go to the supermarket, you buy
Yes.
without tax. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a concerning point. If I may come to you, the aspect about leadership and the young people taking the prime positions, which are very key and instrumental. At some point, President Uhuru Kenyatta said, don't question me. Hata musiniulize kuhusu muda worry. That was the point. What do you think makes the president to make such statements? What do you think prompts him? Is it because the young people, if given the opportunity and in the circumstances they were given, have fallen short of the expectation, or he's just part and parcel, or just a representation of the deep state who might not want the young people to lift their heads up?
I'll go back to what I said, morals. If somebody, no matter how young or old you are, if you don't have morals, you still let down the society. There are some young people, when given the opportunity, they'll definitely perform and they'll definitely do so much. Right now, they're member of parliament who are young. From Langata, Babu Wino. But look, what do they do? Jichope, what do they do? What are they bringing on the table? Are they convincing the older generation that you can do it? Are they helping us in any way?
Do you think they're doing something substantial or valuable?
They're just the same.
Just to,
What do they stand for?
just to interject.
They have been shaped hard into...
In fact, even some of them are worse. So I think it's all about morals. It's all about knowing what you want to do to your people. And what I believe, there are many young people who can deliver. The problem is, before you ascend to any position of power, you need money. You need money. You need a lot of money. And where do you get the money?
To just pause you, hang on for a minute. Money isn't that important, isn't it? Because if you coalesce around a cause, when the young people glue upon themselves, there's that cohesive nature, and then you brand yourselves, you package yourself in the best way possible, then I think there's nothing unstoppable, because you have the numbers, you can change the lawmaking process, you can change the authority in the country through the ballot if they can galvanize and coalesce around a cause. Is that cause lacking? Why do you think a person of such the president's stature will underappreciate the young people and says it's better to have a 91-year-old man on the board of a parastatal company than a young person? What do you think necessitates such a circumstance?
I think the young people, they are not hungry enough for what they want. It doesn't come to that point that they're ready to come together to sacrifice their individual goals and fight for a cause. They're not ready. And also what I meant by money, once you go out to campaign, they're youth who need money. You have to give them money so that they can support you. If you don't, they'll go to that big governor who has a lot of money because they're broke and they need to sort their bills. So what do they do? The
mammoth of crowds that they will want to see.
Yeah, because it's all about PR. You need to make posters. You need a lot of things. Until the young people are hungry for development, that they are hungry for change, and they're ready to take a stand and say, this is what we want. and they're ready also to sacrifice, we're not going to have any kind of change.
Okay, you mean time isn't ripe enough, in your view?
I think people are not hungry enough. The moment that you really want something, you will push. Look at Tom Mboya, Thomas Sankara. There are many young people the young people who pushed the agenda and they stood for what they believed in, and they did not give in. The problem is, once you start something, somebody calls you, they give you something, you keep quiet.
It means then that hunger
it's not yet.
Okay, that hunger can be brought forth by the pinching, and it appears that the pinching isn't
it's coming
enough.
soon. I can see it's coming
Okay,
soon.
yes, Alex, before we go to the audience.
I think first I'd like to look at it differently. I think as young people, we've given the excuse of money for too long, especially when it comes to politics. If you look at the young people who are currently in office right now, the reason why they're in office and the reason why, for example, Uhuru Kenyatta,
the digital presidency,
why they would consider having young people as part of their teams is because these young people who are in office, the likes of Babu Wino, have learned the skill of mobilization. This doesn't take money. You just need to learn the art and the skill of mobilization. If you're able to mobilize as young people and round up ourselves, I mean, look at how many young people are here in studio this morning. If we're able to galvanize the same kind of and put the same kind of energy towards bringing people towards a common cause as young people, then we will actually take up these leadership positions. As young people, we don't have to prove anything to anyone.
Okay, I'll come to Leah and Nicole, and we'll continue with the discussion. But let me go to, I'm sure we have the mic going round, so let me start with the lady in the blue top here. Then I get a gentleman for purposes of gender balance, and we continue. But I'll assure you that everyone will be expressing his point. So if you can have the mic in front here. No, just express your point, no problem. Okay, yes, just briefly. Starting by your name and...
my name is Pretty Werimo, and I am a model. Yes.
And do we have is there perhaps a case of dissatisfaction from your end that enough is not done to address the issues of the young people?
Yes, enough is not done because many people express their opinions on many things, but most of the time it is ignored. So if we can actually listen to all the opinions of the young people, we would be much, much more ahead in this country.
Okay, then we can get the gentleman on the left end, that is on your far, if you can have him, yes, that is the gentleman in the black, that is double pursuit, yes. Yes, start by your name.
Thank you very much. I'm Anthony Maso, Secretary General of Vijana Economic Front, VEF, that's the youth party. And Ayub, we are adding political yeast to an already fermenting party of problems. You know, let me speak from the position of the majority. I want to tell youths in Kenya that we are the majority. We are almost 70% of this nation, yet we allow politicians to put us in briefcases and walk around with us, you know, controlling us like cogs and robots in their bedrooms. And that is why let us stop this culture of allowing politicians to gerrymander with youth around the country. You know, if we can decide that we take the initiative and we change the leadership of this country, then trust me that all these problems are going to be sorted out, because we can offer alternative leadership. Let youths stop allowing politicians to treat them as part of the problem. Let us get in and be part of these solutions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, the point is, before you hand over the mic, the point is that you are making a point in the sense that you have the numbers and you can be the alternative leadership in the country. How do you do that when there are concerns about a case of what I might term as a complex inferiority to the current political top brass in the country? How do you change that?
Okay, let me draw the example of the BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative. If you look at the policy making there, that is a very significant example of policy making gone wrong. Because the people who made these policies, if you look at the BBI Bible, let me bring your attention to it. The only point that I can pick out talking about youths is saying, you know, let the government take over betting companies. You see, it is very far-fetched. It is something that does not help the youth in any way. And that is why, if these forums come down to the people, let us force as youth so that our voices can be heard. there are a lot of BBI forums going around. But if you go to those forums, youth are being kicked out. Seasoned politicians are being given those chances. And you find a majority staying out of a meeting room, of a conference room, where policies and ideas are being manufactured for the future.
Okay.
So yet we have the numbers. We can always force our way, stay in those meetings, create those policies, and make sure that they work for us.
All right, the gentleman in the blue tie.
Thank you so much. My name is Austin, and I'm the chair of Young Aspirants Kenya. It is true that the problems we have in this country are created by politicians. One thing that we need to know as a youth, according to the latest statistics, we are so many, we are able to form and run a government. We need to be at the table of the decision-making process in this country. Right now, if you look at the problems we are facing right now, the BBI rallies, they are meant for specific people. It's obvious that the BBI does not really bring food on the table for us. We are not going to support the BBI. If you do a statistic outside there, right, like when you are coming here, we normally do samples from the youth. Obviously, the BBI is not for us. It is just meant for few people. So I just want to encourage the youth. First, let me say something about what Alois was saying, and my brother there. Politics requires money, but it's not only money alone. It starts from mobilization. Let us start doing something. What are we doing now, apart from just us talking about bad governance, about specific group of people taking part, taking power, or what? What are we doing at the moment to make sure we are able to take power? Power is not just taken the way we think.
Okay.
We need to start organizing ourselves. Again, on the issue of people like Babowino and all that, those are not, to me, let us be just a better example of the kind of crop of leaders we have there. They were very good when they started. They were meaning well for the youth, and they were coming with very good leadership. But now, to me, it's not really a good example if we can use such people to be our examples in leadership. So we are better, we are able, and if we organize ourselves and the way we are capable of mobilizing ourselves, we are capable of strategizing, we are capable of being part of the decision-making process in this country.
Okay.
Yeah. So to me, it's just let us just organize ourselves and be ready.
Okay, good point.
That's exactly why we came up with this movement, and I can encourage everybody here to join our movement so that we can form the next government.
Okay. to just have the, if I may have, for purpose of gender balance, I'll come back to you. Hand over the mic to the lady at the end in the black top, and we can hear her sentiments, and then the gentleman who we have picked the mic from. By show of hands, before you start expressing yourself, by show of hands, how many of you support the BBI? By show of hands.
You support it?
Yes, definitely.
So we have two here over here. Yeah. Two gentlemen, and in the audience, how many of you support?
Are you ready?
Okay. And how many of you are, in terms of the percentage, 50-50? The BBI in terms of your support?
The keys to make it work for us.
How many are opposed to the BBI? Okay.
They'll force
Why?
it.
Okay, let me now, that's the majority. Let me hear from the lady now who has the mic. And yes, I'll hear. Are you opposed, or are you proposing, or are you in support of the BBI?
It's all rubbish.
You're not supporting.
Yeah.
Why?
So much rubbish.
It's something.
I have read it.
It's
Yes, you can go ahead, please.
perfect, but it's something.
It is nothing.
Or alternatively, you can hand over the mic to the lady next to you.
Nothing.
Opposed or supporting the BBI?
I oppose the BBI
Yes.
because actually when you look at the document itself, all that is in it is the sharing of political seats. It doesn't look into the so-called Wanjikos or whatever they call it. So the BBI, it doesn't have anything to do with youths. They just have to share the political seats. And of course, the people who are going to benefit from the BBI are the people on top, the leaders on top. Actually, BBI, when BBI came, it was the death of the Big Four agenda. Because actually, after BBI came, there's nothing that we've heard about the Big Four agenda. All is BBI, BBI, and BBI. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll have the gentleman there, then come to the gentleman in specs here. Then we'll hear from everyone. We'll hear from, I assure you.
Thank you, Ayub, for the opportunity. My name is Somoe Maranga, the President, Vijana Economic Front, at the new political party.
That is the Julius Malema of Kenya.
Absolutely. Ayub, I refuse to be a perpetual pessimist, to say, to accept and acknowledge that we as youth should always throw up the hand of giving up and surrendering to those wealthy men who possess power. Where is the youth position in policy making, Ayub? When we have ministers talking about locusts being old, when ministers saying that we take pictures of locusts, it's an insult, actually a great travesty of knowledge in this country. We have so many young people that we have taken to school right now, but we cry about floods in Bondo, in Nyando.
Budalangi.
We cry about floods in Budalangi. We cry about floods even in Turkana sometimes when it rains. Where is the position of youth in this country? And I want to ask my fellow youth in this congregation, join Vijana Economic Front. Because this actually, unless we assemble ourselves away from the mainstream politics, where you are suffocated, the political oxygen is limited. That when you want to breathe in, to take in the breath of politics, you are suffocated. My friend Paul Olaka tried to vie in Busia last time. He's actually a member of VF. He tried to vie in Busia. He was suffocated. And no wonder he's here trying to really talk about the issue of our moral consciousness as a nation. And my fellow young people, I want to ask you this. Let us refuse to be called the Vijana Hoye, Vijana Ria, and actually be called as Mr. and Miss, or a professor or a PhD in these dissertations.
Okay.
And actually influence policy. Now, talking about BBI, you ask us what BBI is
You're opposed to it.
I oppose BBI,
Okay.
because it's trying to bring legislations on behavior. You cannot control behavior. You cannot say, for example, that youth, we want to stop you from betting. We can organize a small game and actually bet. So if you are telling us that you're blocking online betting, we still have betting in Mitaani. Let BBI tell us the agenda for issues. Let us legislate about having sanctuaries of tapping knowledge. Kenya is the hub of ICT in Africa. What do our politicians say?
Okay.
They say, hoye, ria.
Okay. Thank you. Now, before I come to the gentleman in specs here, let me just get someone who is supporting the BBI in the audience. Yes, the gentleman. Yes, go ahead, please. You can stand up. You can feel free.
Okay, I'm Ben Kanyango, and I'm supporting the BBI. Most of us here are telling us that the BBI is just talking about creating positions. Yet, if you have seen the document, it's only one chapter that's talking about the leadership and governance on matters such as morals. Those are things that the BBI is recommending, not legislation, but for us to have a national consensus where we can discuss so that we have a Kenyan way such that we can do this and that. If you have listened to everyone here, everything boils down to morals. You talk about the economy, it's because someone is stealing. The question is still morality. And about leadership, we have played the role of victims for a very long time. Maybe it's time we give those ahead of us an opportunity to create a platform that we can go and occupy in future. And I'm an optimist and I support the BBI.
Okay, the gentleman in specs here. I'll come to you. Yes?
Well, thank you very much.
Do you support or oppose the BBI?
I'm Okoth Onyango.
You're opposed. Why?
All right. So, as it is right now, I believe for the young person in this country, it is significantly inconsequential to take a position of opposition or proposition when it comes to the BBI. What we need to ask ourselves as the young people in this country is what alternative are we offering the nation? Of course, that will seem to tend towards opposing the current situation. Let me first of all just address what my friend has raised here. We are not just talking about, positions. We agree it is written in the report something about morals. The same way the report has something about National Health Commission. The report has got many other things. But then when we see how the political wave has been shaped, it boils down to the matter of positions. And then when they come to us, they tell us the positions are about inclusivity. But who said inclusivity is about positions? I believe that inclusivity is about an agenda being at the table of discussion, and the young people's agenda being discussed with equal weight and consideration as any other agenda. That is basically it.
Okay.
And so I believe the young people in this country, if we want to shape the future of this nation, then we should be ready to raise a voice that is cohesive, that is definitive, and that is strong enough to clutter every other voice. And that is why for us right now, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't say it's a strategic or effective, approach to say yes or no. Let us come and demand, this is what we have. It is true we need to build bridges, but not in the way that you are being told.
Okay, but why do you think the voices are not echoed enough? Or why do you think the strategy of the young people in this country lacks a clear definition?
That brings me now to actually what I want to say from the beginning. There are several factors that must be considered, when it comes to progress on any matter. There is the issue of policy. That is the first thing. When we continue making policies in this country and then treating the youth agenda as a favor to the young people and not as an integral part to the nation's progress, we are missing it. We are not doing the young people a favor by making some policies that favor them. We are not doing them a favor by incorporating the National Youth Commission in the Constitution. We are not doing the young people a favor by having something like the NYC, which is very defunct right now. It is part of the nation's agenda going forward. It is in the nation's interest to preserve and protect the interests of the young people. So the first thing is the policy level. The second thing, let's talk about the economic crimes against the young people in this country.
Okay.
When you have to spend almost 30,000 in terms of getting licenses and just setting up a business, hata ujanza kuleta products kwanza. When you have to spend all this money, that is an economic crime against the young person, and you must call it out.
Okay. Now,
so only an empowered person can speak. Only an empowered person can take that platform and raise that voice. It do not just come from any other circle.
Okay. This is the perfect, in fact, platform to give you your views in this particular case in regard to if the BBI stakeholders, the steering committee is listening and tuning into this program, because there was no such congregation that brought together young people. Yes, if you can pass the mic to the lady at the back, and then I come to the gentleman in the necktie. Next to him will be the gentleman in the red tie, and the gentleman in the look-alike of the Raila Odinga cap. Yes.
Hello, my name is Koki Mulwa. I'm an MBA student by evening, and by day, I'm a virtual assistant, which is an online job. I pull on my past experience whereby I handle administrative and marketing work. And as we sit here and, throw around the questions and the answers, we should also ask ourselves, in as much as the government is doing something for us, or we perceive it not to be doing something for us, but what can we do for our government? And I have introduced what I do, which is an online job. And when you think of online jobs, you think of transcription work and all these other roles. But you can tap into online jobs and actually pursue your skill in the online market. But when I look at the Kenyan context, the minimum wage for online work is not controlled, because if you're an online worker in a foreign market, the foreign markets regulate how much you earn. And let's say that's the American countries, the European countries, and the Philippines have actually come together as a group of online workers, a community, and they have their standard rates, and if you outsource their services, they are paid as per an agreed rate as per the Philippines.
Okay.
So, you know, pulling on this, on the fact that we have been told to focus on online work because there's no employment, but at the same time, there's no regulation safeguarding us from the outside people coming to pay us. And it's really, we should all come together and, you know, form something around this. And as for BBI, there's a lot of politicking around it, so I'm 50-50 about it, because when it comes to the explanation of what BBI is, you find people are aligned to the person or the party and not the content. So this brings a little bit of controversy, because the electoral rate or the common person may not be in a position to really criticize the key elements of the BBI. So a lot more, it's more politicking and less emphasis, less action and less emphasis on the Big Four agenda, as she stated.
Okay, thank you. It's an important point. Before I come to the gentleman in the necktie, Leah, that is an important point that she points out the issue of online marketing and venturing into that business, perhaps making a living out of it. Then you pointed out the issue of the capital finance and entrepreneurship being perhaps the sort of the remedy to the problems, but still there are hurdles on the way. So how do we now bring all this together, balance the subjects, and perhaps can that be the option point or the alternative for young people to seek solace?
I guess it could be, but then for maybe what she didn't mention is for you to be able to do, say, online jobs, you need a laptop and you need a steady internet connection, right? So how many towns or cities in the country are internet ready? I live on Kiambu Road. It's pretty urban, but there are places on Kiambu Road that Safaricom will tell you, listen, we don't cover that area, right? So if somebody on Kiambu Road cannot access internet for them to be able to do online work, what about the youth that live in places like Githurai, where maybe companies like Safaricom will not, create as a priority? The government has not probably gone in with a fiber network as well. So I mean, there's so many challenges that then boil down to one, infrastructure, two, government willingness to meet the youth halfway. So someone might be very excited to do something for themselves, but then there'll always be a hurdle that they have to jump. So then you then come back to the whole issue of, are they empowered enough in the first place?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's an important point. I'll just pause my audience for a moment. I'll come as per my lay-down procedure. The lady will balance my gender outlook. The gentleman in the necktie, I'll come to you shortly. But let me seek the sentiments of the gentleman here. You at some point vied for a political position. What led to, can you specifically point out the problems that led to perhaps or problems you can point out in that political process that the gentleman who, our Julius Malema version, in Kenya, appears to be pointing out as the problems that have been on your way or you experienced in the political process for your campaigns?
What made me vie for the position was I was hungry for change. And, what I wanted to do, I was tired of being told by the MCAs, oh, we're going to dig holes, we are going to boreholes, we're going to build toilets, that is nonsense. As in, they have been doing that ever since independence. It was high time we decided to focus on the youth. What can we do? Can we create a place that the young people can go, apply jobs from the rural areas, get internet, and also just to get more information on what they can do and what can build themselves. So what made me vie was the need in the society for something that was so different than what they were offering. And it was not about like I wanted power. It was just about being there, doing what I said that I want to do. But unfortunately, they told me, young man, you don't have money. Go look for money, come back. That is the reality. That's why when I say money...
But it's unfair, isn't it, to depict that sort of blanket condemnation picture? Not all of them are materialistic and will look for money.
Rotten. People are poor. So if you go to the village and you don't have, unless you're from a dynasty, you will have a big family name. But if you don't, if you're starting from scratch, You'll have to get money. You have to look for money.
Okay, does it not bring not, Nicole, if I may come to you, the point he's raising is about the materialistic aspect that I'm talking about here. I mean, if that is the driving point or the driving agenda that steers the agenda of the young people, isn't it unfortunate? And what about the absence, the vacuum of ideology, policy that needs to anchor the needs of the young people and not, as he mentions, money and the level of the living standard of the people in the society?
I think it will come back to his point earlier about morals. And I mean, yes, money is something that is needed for everything. I mean, money is a tool that allows us to do things, right? But if we can't get the money, and this is just the fact of what it is is difficult for a lot of people to access this money, is why not go a step further? And it's true, people aren't hungry. People are sitting around and complaining, and we're all sitting here being victimized by the situation at hand, but what are we doing? And the thing is, I think every single person individually needs to stand up and be like, okay, how is it that I can contribute to fixing this problem? Because yes, the problem is bigger than any of us, and it's going to be an extremely long process to be able to get through things and to see the change that we're looking for. But what can we as individual people already start doing? The thing is, it's also that a lot of people are just lazy. People realize, yes, the situation is difficult. Yes, the government is not supporting us, but can you not go that one step further? Can you not be educating yourself further? Can you not be doing more to push yourself further? And the thing is, it is those people who are hungry who succeed. It is those people who probably come from nothing, but because they have that hunger, they thrive to do better, and therefore they succeed. So I think it starts with the individual, and people need to start asking the questions, fine, I can't get the support from the people around me, but maybe there's something that I can be doing that can improve the situation.
Okay, that again depends or trickles down to the individual aspect here and what he wants, crafting an idea at the homestead level, going to the society, explaining that, getting the crowd as the foundation, and going for the political post in the case of the gentleman here. Then Alois, if that happens, then how do they need to anchor that and peg it on the foundation in the essence that they make a stronger foundation, that if it is the fallback position, then that point is very strong and it doesn't necessitate perhaps manipulation, materialistic aspect, the mammoth of crowd which fancies the fuel guzzlers driven around by the politicians, and despite the living standard that they are at the moment because of drying up pockets, then how do they bring up that in the case that they will not be infiltrated and made to look weak, as was the case in the case of the gentleman when he vied for that political post?
So I'd urge, first of all, every young person to look for a documentary called Everything Must Fall. This resulted from the Fees Must Fall movement in South Africa. The government decided to hike school fees for all university students in South Africa, and the student leadership actually decided to take it upon themselves to make that change and to change the perception that people have about this. And if you look at the student leaders who are in South Africa, for example, all of them were actually part of the national political movements that were there. So this is one point that I always like to put out. Despite young people, like my young brothers here, forming political parties, we also need to look at that realistic approach where work with what you have now. Sometimes if you want to bring change, you have to bring change from the inside. So that's the angle I would definitely want to look at when it comes to such a situation. And I would say that we're at a fortunate time where there's a serious sense of awakening. Okay. A lot of people are willing and eager to listen to change. Okay. But I'll also say that as young people, we go out there and campaign the same way an old person will campaign. I'll go and talk about how I'm bringing roads. I'll go speak about how I want to build a new dormitory for a school. Okay. Rather than looking at what my young people actually need. What do the people need? People need skills. People need job creation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Leah, you had a point?
Yes. I was going to say, I like what she said about what you're supposed to be doing as an individual. And the question for me always has been, if you cannot lead yourself, how do you expect to lead other people? Right? Even in the journey of entrepreneurship or, starting a business or, doing work online or whatever, you have to have a level of self-discipline, a level of self-awareness. We have people that are walking around spending, 15 hours a day on social media, liking memes, body shaming people, but no one is really actually taking the initiative to lead themselves into being better. So if you're broke, for example, and you don't have food to eat or whatever, you can get out of your house and sell tea at your, your stage or make chapos. And I know there's a lot of, like Kanjo will come and try and harass you, blah, blah, blah. But these guys who are actually doing that work are doing well. They're able to support their families and all that. So it's easy to sit down and say, look, there are many hurdles. But if you're not leading yourself into doing better, then you cannot be a leader, even for the youth. Yeah.
Okay, the context. There needs to be the intra-communication, then
Yes.
inter,
Yes.
which means it starts from you, the self.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. I'll see you off my first panel. We'll have another panel on set. Still, we'll want to hear from the gentleman in the necktie, the gentleman in the red tie, the two ladies, one in the blacks and one in the black top and the other. And we'll continue with the discussion after the break here on the program. The number is 0791478990. The hashtag on Twitter is NewDayKE. The short SMS code is 40920. Stay tuned for the second part of the discussion. This is New Day Kenya.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to our interactive segment here from Street of Nairobi. And today we are in Lavington, where we want to get different opinions and views on how the youth would like the BBI to help them. So let's go and find out.
Tu kujua kwanza BBI ni nini, alafu bado jobs opportunity hatuna.
Kuhusu taarifa ya BBI, mimi kama Mkenya wa chini kule sijaifahamu vizuri, ila nasikia tu kwa magazeti, kwenye television, lakini kuhusu taarifa iliyokuwa ndani kikamilifu sina habari juu yake.
BBI inisaidii ini story tu ya gava na wale wako gava.
Mimi ningependa kila saa wasiongelee about politics. Waongelee vitu za kusaidia vijana kama kwa wenye watapata kazi. Waongelee about kujenga hospitali hivyo. Lakini si about politics kila saa.
BBI si tunaona tu watu by the way wakubwa wakitembea nazo, hatujajua itatusaidia kama kipipi. Na mimi kama kijana BBI ingekuja itusaidie tupate kama kazi. Naona hii kazi yetu ya jua kali, watu tunatembea hatuna kazi.
Napenda BBI kwa sababu BBI anatuongoza kwa mambo mazuri. Kama mlili ya wamama, kwa vijana na kwa wazee, si ndio?
Wenye wako kiwango cha chini wanaweza saidiwa, wapewa kiwango fulani ya pesa ndio waweze kuongeza biashara zao. Kwa vijana wenye hawana uwezo wanapewa tuseme kama kiwango fulani kama group. Kama mtu anataka kuanza biashara anapewa, anaanza. Kama mtu anataka kusoma, maybe ulifika mahali fulani kwa masomo, unapewa nini? Kama ulikosa uwezo, unapewa pesa, unapata kujiendelesha kusoma.
Mimi nataka BBI hata vile mmesema isaidie kwa hii uchumi kwa ngumu sana hii. Juu naona mambo yaende mzuri. Kwa hivyo ikitusaidia itaweza kuwa mzuri. Sisi tunangojea tusikie vile wanasema na sisi tuone tutapitishaje sasa.
Welcome back. You're watching the program. Our first panel did cite corruption as the necessitating factor of young people changing their value, or generally the generation changing its value culture in the country. Here is what's coming up on the screen. This is the Transparency International Corruption Index Global Report, and as you can see, the shaded end, that is about, to be specific in the African context, you can see the red end of the map, and as pointed out on your screen is the highly corrupt countries across the world, and that includes Russia in Europe and countries that are bordering Russia to the south, Turkey, parts of Asia, and now when you come to Africa, the shaded right, Sudan, Libya, that is in Somalia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the shaded light but still corrupt Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Mozambique, Madagascar, parts of the West African part of the continent, including Senegal, Mauritius, Mali, Nigeria, Niger, and the Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Nigeria, and coming to South America, that is Latin America, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, and Venezuela are highly corrupt, and Argentina not bad, but Brazil is highly, and in between the Caribbeans, you can see Mexico is a highly corrupt country. The United States of America, Canada, the Scandinavian countries, Australia, and parts of Europe largely are not corrupt, according to the report, or there is less corruption. And this, of course, affects the education sector and all the other important government institutions across the world. So we start from that note, and I'd like, first of all, to give my audience time to introduce themselves. We'll hear then from the panel, as earlier promised, because they'll be here as we continue with the discussion. Starting from that end, yes, you can introduce yourself and react to the corruption index in regard to Kenya sitting pretty much at the epicenter of all the problems, as per that report by Transparency International.
Sure. My name is Omoe Maranga, the president of Vijana Economic Front. I'm not surprised that we are shaded red. I mean, when you walk around, even as we were coming in the morning, you can, at face value, spot a scenario where there is corruption. But as you alluded in your first statement, when you were in the first segment, where you said, we have the 10 commandments for Christians, we still have commandments among the Islam, we have the constitution, we have parliamentary acts. Why are we so corrupt? Why are we that so gullible in terms of using, you have to use connections rather than being a meritorious society? You must be connected to another node so that you succeed. Somebody also mentioned about BBI. You know, BBI cannot solve this moral issue. You cannot legislate on morals. You cannot force people to be moral. Because generally the constitution is amoral, you know. But we have other things that guide our society to be moral. We are largely a Christian or a religious country. But still, that does not affect our problem, the problem we have in corruption. And the reason is we have the laws, but they are not enforced. Today, if you are arrested, if you don't have anything, you will go to jail for many years.
But if,
if I have money today, I can do whatever I want. I can actually shoot you, Ayub, and still get bail, and even get bail in installments. So the problem we have as a nation is actually the enforcers of the law. Whether it be the goodwill of the executive, whether it be that judge on the bench, whether it be the people in parliament legislating policies that affect, that try to limit corruption, we are becoming a very loose society. In 1995, before Moi formed KRA, we were not collecting revenue. But were Kenyans not paying taxes? They were paying taxes.
So where did the money end up?
Yeah, now that's the question we were asking. During the Kibaki time, there was a lot of, KRA raised several billions until we were wondering, where did this money come from? In 2004, you graduated from university directly, you got 3 job opportunities. Today you graduate, the first opportunity to get is 2023 or 2024. I mean, that is 6 years after you graduated. The issue is, when Kibaki came in, the KRA and our revenue collecting agencies were collecting more and more. That opened up the economy. There were more businesses within the country. But when we are corrupt, when we eat that is supposed to feed or expand our economy, that is what we end up with. A corrupt, red-shaded country.
Okay. As redly shaded in that picture by Transparency International, yes.
Good morning, my name is Winnie. I'm Winnie Njoki. I am a business lady. I'm a young mother. And my take on corruption in Kenya is that it's technically who you know, basically, or whether you have money or not. For example, the other day I was sitting with somebody and we were discussing about if you have a girlfriend and they get pregnant and they're not working, can you open for them a business? And he asked me a very simple question. Where am I meeting a girl who doesn't have a job? I'm not going to go to Dandora and get a girlfriend. Where are we meeting? We're not going to sit on the same table and discuss. So if you have money...
The issue of class.
Yeah, if you have money, we will sit. You will find me where I am. We will have a drink, we'll discuss. If you do not have money, this is where now the morals come in. If you don't come from a family that has money and your dad says, you know, you got a D, but I'll put you in a high position. Winnie got an A and she didn't have anywhere to go. So where do you turn to? As they were saying earlier on, sponsors, you know? You turn to sponsors because they have the money to build you. Same in politics. When 2013 elections and 2017 elections, Uhuru was not running in 2013. All of a sudden he came out.
Kibaki wasn't. Uhuru was running.
No, at first he wasn't.
Yep.
He came up and said, remember he came up and said, mashetani zilindanganya. And you know, he came in because people said, we need somebody to protect our wealth. So that wealth that is being protected is not so that they can share. They will employ their families, their girlfriends. The rest of us will not have opportunities to open businesses. They rallied up people, they took them for, they paid a lot of money, paid transport, took people to vote, gave them money for allowances for lunch and everything. So they basically facilitated everything that was going on for the president to come into power and protect their wealth.
That is the top class.
Yes.
Talking about the top
businessmen. Yes, top businessmen. Okay, people who have invested a lot and don't want to lose their wealth. Again, I'm going to talk about experiences and facts that I've seen. The other day, somebody was telling me that I am building an empire so that I'm able to hand it over to my children. My sons are not going to go and get jobs elsewhere. So I'm building an empire so that they can run it. And I asked him, what if I come and I'm more qualified? I actually tested him and told him, why don't you teach me how to do what you're doing? He said, no, I'm teaching my kids. It doesn't matter whether you have the skills. I want to give it to my kids because by the time they're finishing school in this country, they'll not be able to get a job. It's impossible.
That's what he visualizes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the government is destroying jobs. They're talking about BBI, responsible betting and all that stuff. There's nothing like that. In the UK, you bet about £10. You're not allowed to bet more than that in a month, I think. In Kenya, they can have such policies, you know, such regulations. But for them to come and say, people like SportPesa are not paying, have not complied. They've complied to the latter.
Okay.
And
like
you can't actually put it in the constitution.
Same.
Small issues like betting.
Yeah, same as all the other betting companies. When SportPesa fell, everything, like over 2,500 people lost their jobs. All over, 400 people at SportPesa, and by extension, other companies who had employed people to deal with the specific account. So we ended up losing, we're actually losing a lot of things that we are meant to have as a youth.
Okay, yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm Seth Victor Osike from Kenyatta University. I'm an activist by birth, by nature, and profession. Now, talking in terms of corruption, I think the problem with this country is that we reward loyalty by giving appointments. The president will reward you for your loyalty by appointing you in a certain office. Recently, we saw a blogger being appointed to the office of a CAS, just because he blogged so much.
And it caused chaos, apparently.
Yeah, it caused a lot of chaos. Yeah, you see, that's a major problem. We don't have to measure our focus on the loyalty other than on the
qualification,
merit. Qualification and everything. Then about BBI, somebody said that it does not only focus.
You support or support?
I totally oppose.
Why?
Because the major focus of this thing is on the leadership sector. Nobody will come and say, oh, it is concentrated on other things and other things. The 7-year holiday that is put there. Mind you me, it will only be enjoyed by these big people. Most of us starting business down here, these small businesses will not be given a 7-year holiday tax. It just, just a mind of joking with our minds, joking with other people's minds so that they can benefit at the end of it. From where I stay in a place whereby traffic officers are just down there. When every vehicle comes and stops, this traffic police officer does not go in front of them maybe to check the driver's qualifications and everything. I see the conductor coming back, getting something, giving him, the vehicle goes. Corruption is everywhere. So even the light shaded red should be dark shaded red.
It's equally good to be optimistic because this generation and the generation watching from home will want a Kenya that is free of corruption, a Kenya that is governed by the rule of law, where the laws are adhered to, the constitution is not mutilated but implemented to the letter, and therefore let's not perhaps wish the worst and be the prophets of doom or the merchants of gloom for that matter, because we have a lot in stake in the coming years. For purposes of attrition, in the next 100 years, I think no one here will be alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, natural tradition.
we leave the country for the
But I think you'd have asked him what prompts the police to do that.
Well, we'll come to that. We'll unpack it, and equally, our panel will tell us. Yes, let me first of all get to the lady here.
My name is Anne Kimani, a financial educator. I'm more on youth empowerment economically, entrepreneurship, and job creation. I may not talk so much about BBI, but corruption, yes. But I look at things very differently. I always look at me as an individual, because sometimes we really point fingers to our leaders and we say they're really corrupt. But look at it, there's corruption from our schools, in our own families, you know, there's nepotism in the workplaces, even where you are at as a person, from wherever you come from. Usually a lot of things that people do behind their boss's back, your parents' back. And to me, it's a whole system. We need to change the conversation from like the small circles. From how I relate with you, from how I interact with you, we need to change the conversation from there. The transparency, accountability, because personally I believe if you can't be accountable to your employer's hours and work, how do you expect your MP or your governor to be accountable to your resources? So for me, I look at things very differently, and I tend to think like change begins from me as Anne. So if I'm talking about corruption, am I corrupt myself? If I'm talking about empowering youth economically, am I doing it from the beginning? Because I think we have leaders and we have politicians. Maybe even in this panel,
in your view,
right now,
just give me a sample of 2 leaders and 2 politicians.
I think everyone
I give you choices.
Yes, okay.
Babu.
Politician.
Waititu.
Politician.
Sakaja.
Leader politician.
Stroke, that is hyphen.
Yeah, hyphen, leader politician.
Muhammad Ali.
Leader politician.
Still don't have a leader. Then how about Moses Kajwang, Senator Homa Bay County?
Politician. Can I mention something about power?
Mm-hmm.
I think the people who are here, like all of us here, for now we are leaders. For now we are tasked to go and just bring change and just empower people. Like we have that thing that we want to bring change in our community, but once we get the power, once we get there, I don't know what comes when we get the money or we get, maybe we are becoming influencers now. So everything changes from your goal, you become now a politician. And it's not even about us, it's just how our systems are. For you to be able to be relevant and to be top there, you can't be a leader. That's our system. That's many African leaders, not even Kenyan. Once you get the power, for you to sustain that power, you must be a politician, because you must support maybe the party that has more influence. You must support systems that you don't believe in. But because you want to sustain and be relevant, you change your concept, you change your story now from empowering to now getting money from the people. So when we're voting for them, they're leaders. But when they go there, and that's the challenge for all of us here right now, right? So are we leaders right now? Are we going to change later on when we get into power?
Yes. I think I want to disagree with her. Yes. Because you cannot remove politics, for it is the genotype of a nation. You know, it is the very fabric that washes a nation.
But how do you cleanse the toxic political environment? Now, that's my point. In fact, I wanted to pose that question to the audience. The point is, even as you disagree, you can rightly do so, because we live in a secular and democratic society. The point is then that you're coming into a system, literally, say you're stepping into, or you want to vie for a political position. Yes. You are venturing into a toxic environment full of hatred. I mean, ethnic tensions, rhetoric that we have seen, what happened in Narok, that if you're not a Maasai, you cannot contest in Narok County, and you're only allowed to eat the fish, the whole body, not the head, as Moi once alluded. But how do we clean that toxic political environment to come up with a leadership that regards ideology, policy, and offers leadership, not political lessons? That's what she wants.
Absolutely, yeah, and actually, that's what everyone wants. But you look at it, this toxicity comes from the masses themselves. This toxicity is what the politician, you know, is a scientist. He analyzes the masses. He says, if I TBmize you, you will be TBmable, and therefore I'll come with TB. Now, if we as young people, because going forward, it is us who are going to inherit this country, if we can change the conversation and even the perception of leadership, that's actually what she's saying, that who is a leader, and can power corrupt you as a leader? Can we have a person who has a beautiful chemistry of both leadership and politics, but devoid of these cancerous ideas of incitement, of corruption? Is that Is it possible for us to achieve that? It is possible. First, when you are showing the choice of a person you want to choose in the ballot. We had Miguna, we had Sonko, we had Kidero in the ballot. Who did you choose?
The masses elected Sonko.
Who did you choose as the masses? We young people. Who did we choose? The masses chose Sonko. Now, you want him to come and bring an innovation hub in Nairobi? What will he talk with the London mayor?
Sadiq Khan.
Sadiq Khan. What will he tell?
Or his predecessor, Boris Johnson.
Or the predecessor, or Boris Johnson. You see, at the end of the day, and I want to challenge you, my fellow leaders, that's why we have come up with Vijana Economic Front, which is going to front including the Senate of Nairobi in 2022. We want to front even in Baringo, in Marigat. Let us have our county MCAs, we young people, like my lady there in red, she can be a beautiful MCA. You looked at her point when she was mentioning about how, I think the other one who mentioned about the online thing, about virtual academies in Kenya. How do you achieve that?
Well, the brains are there.
Well, yeah, the brains are there, but when you have senators in parliament who are toxic, can they even understand what is being virtue?
Okay, we'll come to that. It's very important. The gentleman in the necktie, if we can pass over the mic, I'll come to you for purposes of gender balance. That is the gentleman, yes, the necktie. Yes, go ahead, please. Start by your name.
My name is Kaunga Emmanuel, senior student, University of Nairobi, as well as aspiring diplomat and a member of YAC.
Okay.
On BBI matters, personally, I do not support it. Reason because of this upcoming stuff of regional government. We've seen the reason they want to create this is because we've seen those second-term governors. They are all over there rushing in support of it so that they can be fit in those positions. So we as a country cannot move forward as we create stagnant places. No one else can move upon them. On matters of youth and the government, yes, the government has failed. You know, the purpose of the government is not to look for jobs for you, but to create an environment for jobs creation. And this, I feel we have been neglected by the government. The reason is because we don't have the interconnection between the government and the youth, because we also, the youth, have failed in matters of, we've seen in social media, we are making a lot of noise with no form. So let us be patient.
Okay.
Let us learn to listen. Let us engage with the government, and let us see how things are done prior. But we should also make sure that the same government does not use us as the pawns or stepping stones to the political movement.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can pass over the mic to the gentleman in the in front of you, but in the meantime, I'll hear from the lady with the microphone. Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. My name is Mary Aponde, Secretary Young Aspirants Kenya, also an entrepreneur. Okay, I perceive corruption as a custom in Kenya. And you have to understand that corruption starts from you, me. I love your trajectory, as you said. I also perceive that way. So for corruption to stop, you have to start it has to start from personal level. Like you all understand that corruption starts from down up to the top hierarchy. Okay, secondly, on someone was saying we have to start to do with what we have. We can't start with what we have. That means we'll be settling for less. We have to take initiatives. Someone was arguing that there are no job opportunities, and even it was declared that most of the graduates from university and college levels out there can't find job. In online space, there is cryptocurrency, we have forex trade. They are not even saturated, and people don't even have idea. On youths, you have to take initiative and make the policies. How many youths have ever participated in lawmaking process? They're not even aware.
The public participation process.
Yeah, they're not even aware, most of them. Yeah, so we need to take initiative.
Meaning that we need to raise our voices in terms of even bringing them up to speed with the participation process, sitting in the Senate, the National Assembly, and taking part here. The gentleman, as you pass over the mic to, that is, I'm just seeking a balance. The gentleman in the black shirt in the meantime continue, and then you later hand over to the lady in front to the white top. Yes, go ahead, please.
I'm Brian Kevin Amolo, the current chairperson.
Yes, you can stand up. Feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Brian Kevin Amolo, the current chairperson, Presbyterian University Students Association, and the Kenya Private University Students Association. Now, on matters of youth and leadership, I want to say that indeed it's sad for the Kenyan youth to be taken as an afterthought when it comes to the control and the running of our country's affairs. It's not normal for people to expect that we are going to carry whatever they have formulated in terms of policies and place it on our heads to try and implement. Now, when you come to the BBI, I have to say that I have a strong feeling that the BBI is a waste of public resources and indeed an attempt to try deviating the concentration of Kenyans from the development agendas towards something else in the name of uniting Kenyans. Kenyans currently don't need reports. Kenyans don't need policies. We need the implementation of these reports and the implementation of these policies. If you may take a keen look at the contents of the BBI report, you realize that these are just repetitions of previous reports. There has been the TJRC Commission report. There has been the Ndungu report. There has been the Kregler report.
Okay.
Among of the key issues being addressed is the unity of Kenyans and how to solve land issues that are still in the BBI. Now, the BBI is just a repetition of 142 pages that are very Confucius.
Yes, talking about the Ndungulang report, the TJRC report, and the Waki report, which is an equally important point as to how those failed and this will address the situation. And thank you. Let me come to this. I haven't picked a person from this point. Yes, the gentleman in the stripped jacket here. And then I'll go to the lady at the back with the white top, then pick that lane one, and then we'll finish up with the gentleman in the black suit. Come and seek the final sentiments of the panel. Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Ayub. My name is Ngetich Kiprotich, the Deputy Secretary General of Young Aspirants Kenya Movement. Let me start with a topic of corruption. Sadly, the current state of where we are in Kenya, I think we have domesticated corruption. Like they say, one time a dog was a wild animal, but over time, it became a friend of man. So corruption is everyday thing here in Kenya. Like it is very normal for you to say, can you do this so that I give you tea? And when you go even for a simple service in a government office, even that 100 bob you are given for someone to assist you in something, it is corruption. So let's look at now the ripple effect in terms of economic effect of corruption. World Economic Forum estimates the cost of corruption in the world is around $2.6 trillion. So in terms of Kenyan shillings, are about 260 trillion Kenyan shillings. Our budget alone, if you read it, is around 3 trillion. So how many Kenyan budgets out? If that money...
That's 260 divided by 3, about 80 years, 80 financial years.
80 financial years that can serve as a country. So you can look at the effect of that. So what we are saying is, if that amount of money, like $2.6 trillion, it has the effect of corruption in terms of it destabilizes governments, it undermines the democracies. Like we say, even the fights in the Middle East, the fights we see in the Middle East, Syria and what have you, it is being funded by outside forces who are interested in maybe the oil in the country because they want to destabilize government so that they benefit from. So that is corruption. Even the issue of, we look at in our case, even in Africa, look at our neighboring country in South Sudan. That is South Sudan. South Sudan got independence in around 2013.
2011.
2011, but it has never known peace since then, from 2013. Reason, corruption. Because those people who are outside all funds functions. Those oppose the government, so that you always fight, someone is benefiting from there. So coming closer home.
Yes.
We see the issue of corruption, we have never been able to tame corruption since. Reason, the political class and the ruling class does not have the urge to do it because they are the beneficiaries. Like even the Auditor General, the office is vacant now. It has not been filled over 1 year. Reason, those people, the state fixers or the deep state, want to put the right person there so that
the favorable person.
The favorable person, they give favorable reports in terms of. So accountability is key. We miss accountability. So us, when we come here as young people, we are asking, we want political positions. We want to be in government. So what are we coming there to change? Are we going to represent the status quo, or we are coming out to something? So we are saying the report is, the just released population results shows that in terms of populations, young people are 75%. But in terms of the voting age, that is between 18 and 34 years. We have around 14 million
young voters.
So we are urging young people, if you can organize well around an idea that we want to change this status quo, we want to remove this PPI nonsense, we want to remove this thing because it does not give anything that is helpful for the country. Allow me to finish.
Yes, just finish briefly.
I'm finishing. At independence, our forefathers identified 3 things that we must fight for our nation to be prosperous. That is disease, poverty, and ignorance. We have made considerable progress in terms of ignorance, in terms of education, but poverty and disease is what is still bedefiling us as a nation.
All right.
So if BBI, I'm saying this as a young person, as I represent a young woman, if BBI is talking something about economic inclusion, about bridging the gap between the poor and the rich, and then we as young people are going to support. As for now, we are against the BBI.
Okay, thank you. Well noted. Because of time, I need to give the lady in the white top here and then come to the panel. We have to read the tweets of the other young people at home equally because of time. We are going to be having this discussion continuously on Tuesdays, but because of time, we need to also maximize on the available timing. Yes, briefly, as you go ahead.
He's insisted I stand, so I'm not being
No problem. Feel comfortable. You're at home.
Yes.
Hii ni jukwaa la vijana.
Kabisa. So my name is Judy Mwaniki. I'm from Young Aspirants Kenya. I'm the vice chairperson. So on corruption, I would say, yeah, it's very rampant. My fellow youth have said it in so much detail. Sorry, there's a mosquito. So they have said it in so much detail, and they have shown various scenarios of how corruption has affected our country. So on the CBC, there's something that was mentioned earlier on CBC and changing and overhaul of our systems. So I think if this CBC, as youth, if we mobilize, organize, and be part of the policy making in that we can have apprenticeship. Why are we importing labor from China? People coming to build our railways, and they're inmates. In fact, these are people who are not qualified. They're just people from jail being told to come and make our railways. When we have the skills, we have capabilities. 39% of youth are unemployed right now as we speak. Out of the population of 75% of youth. You see, that's a very huge number. So talking of this, if we had systems that would encourage apprenticeship and mentorship, you know, such systems that will, and as youth being part of that, we need to be part of that actively, like be in the policy sharing table as well. So on BBI, I'm opposed to BBI because of a few things, especially in the matters of inclusion. We have seen we are economically marginalized. Our first presenter had talked about the 1% of the population are the ones who have money. Ama sisi youth tuko na pesa? No, not much. Sindio? We are hustling here. We use the term hustle. Yani you have maybe a job or you don't have a job, you're working online, you have a side hustle, you know, just trying to get that money. So talking of BBI, inclusion, we are very economically marginalized as the youth. That's why inclusion is a big part that's failing. In part as political aspirations. Most of us maybe are willing to go for political seats, but we feel the level field of in the political arena is not equal for us. You don't have that money. I asked recently a candidate who had vied for MCA. He told me that even just getting that MCA seat, the minimal amount of money he had to save for that is 2 million. Why are you getting 2 million? You don't even have even maybe 10K per month in your account. You see? So it's very dire, and we need to rethink our situations as youth.
Well noted. And I'm sure they are listening back home. I'll give each of you one minute each, and we need to play a bite here. And to listen, I also need to sample the feedback on Twitter, starting with you, Miranda.
He has mentioned a good point. I'm actually a victim. I vied for MC in Kajiado County, and that is the amount. Now, I straight to the solutions. What is the age of the minister for ICT and youth in this country?
Jomusharu?
What is the age of the previous minister? When you look at their ages, you actually wonder why that ministry should be called youth. 65 years, 55 years. You want to tell me David Osiany cannot be able to become a minister of this country? Robin Boit, the young leader from Eldoret, cannot be a leader for the Ministry of ICT. I, Omoe Maranga, what do I need to be that, to become that minister? Or even permanent secretary for youth, or even for sports. For sports, the age was about 63. Really, we have a problem. And if we youth don't take charge, we're going to lose it. Now, another point is, let us change the political class. We cannot come and continue blaming them when we are voting for them. Let us change the political class. Let us elect younger people. Let us elect younger and people who have the propensity to take this country far. The last one that I want to say is that let us be involved. Let us push, wherever you are, push to be involved in policy making of this nation. Public-private policy in this country is so weak. Safaricom makes 80 billion profit per year. Let it show to us the innovation hub they have sponsored in a university. Equity makes a lot of billions per year. But the bureaucracy in our government to even sponsor something in a university is quite something.
Okay, yes, Winnie.
Let me respond to the gentleman in a blue jacket. He was talking about implementation of the policies in Kenya currently. I think BBI is a money-making scheme, and at the same time, I'm supporting it. Because let me ask you, Ayub, where did Huduma number go? Nobody knows, right? People came, individuals came, they made money from it, a lot of money, and then disappeared. BBI the same. People are making money, organizing the event, transporting people, doing this and that. At the end of the day, it's the same policies that were there before that haven't been implemented. If they were to actually try and change it without spending our money, they can do it like the way they're doing at KRA right now. KRA people are getting fired. Contracts are not being renewed. You know, people, they're changing the management. And not just that, even the juniors. You know, we want to wake up in the morning and hear the same, what is happening, like customs and border control. Things are changing. Migration as well, you know. But when it comes to saying that we are doing this because we are running the BBI because we want to change the country. Yes. It will not change. That's a lie. It will not change. You had asked earlier on about someone who's a leader and a politician. And a politician, yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's anybody here who would correct me. The Greater South MP, John Kerry. KJ was an
comedian.
Yeah, and he was also creatives in Scanad Entertainment. He came from the grassroots. He actually built himself up there. When the first election, I think he was in ODM, and the second one he was in Jubilee. Yes. So when he was transitioning, people could say, you could hear people like Akinadini Sawero saying in Kikuyu, no aran ugama shugu, as in, you still smell of ODM, why are you coming here, you know? Okay. But people in that area actually voted for him. They actually voted for him because of what he's doing, not who he is. Okay. What he's doing. And you'll see every day the changes that he's doing in his constituency. So those are the people that we need in this country. Yeah. Yes,
gentlemen, briefly.
Yes, thank you. Number one, what I would like to say is that as a country, we would better focus majorly on the qualifications other than paying loyalty. As a country, as our leaders, you know, most of us, even as student leaders in universities, when you get to that position, you get a small hook where you might give somebody, you automatically look for that one who supported you fully and give him that position. So I would urge all of us, let's concentrate majorly on the qualifications other than paying loyalty. Then number two, we as the youth, let us put these politicians aside. We should not focus majorly on handouts. You know, given 500 shillings, they are shouting, Raila Amolo Odinga. You know, that's what makes him happy. He's always happy when people shout his name and are happy when he talks. But there's nothing good he's doing for us. When youth go there in Narok, when they go in Kakamega and shout, hey, Joey, you know. Okay. It's not helping, just a minute. Yes, then, something on the BBI. BBI has no big difference from the other reports. They're just similar. It's only that it got political brokers and political, we call them, political conmen, like Raila Odinga. It's, if it was a good report or if they had a good mind for this country, then they could have implemented the other reports that were so good. Yeah, that were so good even from the BBI, you see. And the last one now, she said that corruption starts with you. it is good if we start the change with we ourselves.
Okay.
Change begins with you. Don't wait for another person to come and change you.
Okay. Briefly, as to finish up, we are running out of time. We are, in fact, overrunning.
Okay. I think when I think about corruption, I think we all agree what we need to address is accountability and responsibility, right? So I'm trying to vision in a situation where, for example, there'll be if our county, Nairobi County, is given some money, let's say it's been given 2 billion Kenyan shillings. If it's put out there, then our governor or whoever is in charge should be able to account still out there on how the money was being used, right? Because what happens is the money is allocated to a certain county or a certain constituency. Then at the end of the day, no one who knows how much was allocated, how much was used. That is what actually we struggle with right now. So I try to envision where we actually understand and know, even everyone, like Nairobi County residents, understand how much have we been given, how much has our county government used that money, so that we're able now also to keep them accountable. But now, these things are usually done behind the scenes, so you can't really know. And then the last part I would like to talk is about the empowerment. You see, the government can't talk about empowering our youth without also teaching them. That's why I'm an advocate of financial literacy, of teaching them how do you save, because we can't sit here every single day talk about there's no capital, there's no capital. We need to know how do we empower ourselves to know. There's usually something like a Biashara Fund. There's so many hubs you're talking about where guys can just, if you have a very big idea and you want that idea to turn like in an investment, there are places you can get money. There's crowdfunding. So to me, I'll actually ask the government, if you're trying to say that you're empowering us economically, introduce financial literacy in our curriculum. Try to teach us how to make money, how to manage that money, how to invest that money, how to get that money from various donors, grants, and various opportunities. So let's be advocate of empowerment economically in the youth as well.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Let me just sample some of 2 tweets on the Twitter handle. Ochieng says, I'm happy seeing young people loud against the BBI. That is the BBI fraud, according to him. We must be able to call it. Viva Ibru TV. Thank you. And Enoch says, I'm very happy seeing the young people want not only inclusion, but willing to take necessary steps to a brighter future. In regards to Kenya, BBI cannot be trusted to do that. Time we came out and told them we may not stop reggae, but we can dictate the dance moves in the dance hall. That's according to Chieng. And one final one here, he says that if you cannot lead yourself, how do you expect the others to lead you? We need to reconfigure ourselves and re-engineer our plan and take up the political position. That's Benjin Dolo equally tweeting about this. He says, good discussion and kindly involve all the youths, and they continue to come in, and we appreciate your feedback here on the program in regard to the discussion that we're having. And I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. And to our previous panel that we had here on set, and to the live audience here on set, we'll be hearing from you, those who have not expressed their points or made their sentiments. Next week, by the grace of God, that will be on Tuesday. We are going to be having this discussion. And tomorrow, we'll be talking to the former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Farah Maalim, former Nairobi County Deputy Governor, that is Jonathan Mweke, Professor Hezron Mogambi, as we take a look at the important element of unity, the ethnic profiling in what some say is the BBI's direction at the moment, and the clash between the factional interests that's allied to the Deputy President William Ruto and the Keleweke faction in the ruling Jubilee Party context, and equally at the end of the ODM party, which seems to be taking charge of the BBI rallies across the country. The convoy was on Saturday in Narok County, Sunday proceeded to Garissa County, and we'll be looking forward to this weekend. And we end on this important note that if young people are gifted to their communities, then Africa and Kenya, to be in particular, are gifted. That's according to Wangari Maathai when she was receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004. From me, Ayub Abdikadir Abdi and the team here in Lavington. We'll see you tomorrow by the grace of God. And bye-bye from the team here in Lavington.